Guys, welcome to Excel tutorial channel again, and in this video we will cover the OR function, which we have covered in last few videos, because in this video I just want to dedicate that video to cover OR function in Excel using different example in this video. As you know, we are covering logical function in Excel, so we have covered basic all the logical function basics and if function in detail. If you haven't watched that video, please do that, because it will give you the overview of the if function and logical function also. And we have also covered the usage of comparison operators. So in this video we will cover OR function in Excel. So let's get started. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do it, because in the upcoming days we will cover each and every functionality of Excel and a course which will be available for you for free. So let's get started. So this is a very basic demo sheet, which if you want to download, you can download using the link below in the description box. So this is very basic, which we have used in all the logical functions in Excel, which we have covered for the basics part. And here we have the different names, and class, which is the 10th class, and we have 3 subjects marks: maths, science and English, and we have the total of all these 3 marks. So we have so in this video we will use the OR function, and we will use different logical explanation using the OR function. So let's get started. So in the first example, I just want to know if a student has passed in maths, either in maths or English. So passing basic, let's assume, or let's create a basic passing criteria. So basic passing criteria will be 40% of 100, right? So we will just see if Joseph and all other students have passed either in maths or English. Let's see. First we will include the formula here. So logical 1, what will be logical 1? 40, right? And in this with the same way 40, right? So this is very basic calculation of OR function. In this way we will find if Joseph has passed either in maths or English using this function. So let's see. Yes, true, he has passed in maths, but obviously he's failed in English. But the OR function in Excel returns true if any of the conditions are true, and returns false if all conditions are false. So combine the OR function, we will combine this OR function with others also. So if this is very basic, if we apply to all, and we have got all the true values, but one is false, which is of Lisa, who has failed in both maths and English. So that's very bad of Lisa. So this is very basic workaround of OR function. Now we will combine this OR function with if function, like with the other functions also. So to step up our game in this respective function, there is a new criteria for selection. What will be that criteria? A student either at least pass 40% of the total marks, which is the 300, and 40% of 300 will be 120 marks, or at least passed in maths subject. So either it should be a 40% of 100 in maths, or 40% of 300 as in total. So first we were gonna find with the help of OR function. So what we need is at least 40% of maths, which is greater than or equal to 40, or 40% of total marks. So let's say this, right? And if we click here, we got a true value, but we don't need value in true or false. We need the value as in passed or failed. Okay, so to include those values, which formula we will use to cover these boolean values as a pass or fail? If function, which we have covered in the previous chapter. So here we will input the if function, and we will open the parenthesis. So this all OR function here, which we have input as a formula, will be our logical test. So value if true, what value will be true? If either a student has scored 40 in maths or 120 as in total, the value of true what will be the value? Passed. And value if false, what will be the value then? Fail. And we will close the parenthesis here, and let's see. So Joseph is passed if we apply to all. So few are failed here. Rodri is failed, Lisa is failed. Yeah, these two got failed here. That's how you're gonna combine other functions with the OR functions, like if function. Also, we have just covered only two logical explanations, but we can input two or more logical arguments in this function. So how are we gonna do that? Suppose we want a student to at least pass in one subject out of 3. So how are we gonna do that? So what are the passing criteria of ours is 40% of the 100 marks, so which is the 40 number. So we will find here, like we will add 3 logical arguments here, right, and here greater than equal to 40, the same way here. And if we close it down, so it says true. Yes, Joseph has failed in English, but he has passed in maths and science, so according to our criteria it's true. But instead of putting all these values differently, we can also choose all these 3 values as an range. How we can do that? We just simply delete all these values here, right? We have got the argument here greater than equal to 40, and in this place we can just select all the range of our logical argument. So what we wanted from this function is, if we want a student to be passed in either of these 3 subjects, so we have selected all these subjects and it should be greater than or equal to 40. And if we do this way, you can just say yes, it's true. Okay, and if we apply to all here, so it says true, 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 and here. So this particular function will not work for you, because if you are on the earlier version of Excel, so what you need to do is you need to enter a shortcut after selecting this values and closing all the parentheses. What you need to do is Control plus Shift plus enter here, and it will input these curly brackets which represent an array formula. So that's how you can work with the selection of ranges, rather than just inputting different arguments which serves the same purpose. Hope you understand how you can also do this way. So in the next part we will combine one more function in here. Which function it will be? The AND function with the OR. So we have covered AND and OR function in our previous videos, but let me redo it again such that you can identify what and where you can use this particular function in your daily Excel life. So now what we wanted is, we want 2 things here. First, we need the total should be greater than equal to 120, which is the 40% of the total marks, 300. So this will be our first argument, or you can say first logical argument. And in the second logical argument, we will use the OR function to choose either student should pass either in maths or in science, right? Hope you get this scenario. Let me tell you again. So we will use the AND function. What is the AND function? AND function returns true if all conditions are true. So in this explanation we will use only 2 logical explanation, or you can say 2 logical arguments here. So first argument will be, we need one constant argument, which is we need at least 120 marks to be secured as in total. And in the second we will use OR function to determine if a student either passed in English, maths or in science. So let me just input the formula here. So in the first logical argument, what our condition is, the total marks should be greater than equal to 120, right? And in the second logical argument we will use the OR function to determine if student has passed either in maths or science. So we will use OR function in the next logical argument. So in the OR we have 2 arguments here. We want either student passed in maths or in science. Hope you get until this point, right? So let's see what it gives us as an answer. So it says true. Okay, so if you want to wrap this up as in pass or fail, you can also do that easily with the help of which function? If function. So we add one more function here. So this all function we have wrote, it will be our logical test, right? And value if true, then the student is passed. Value if false, then student is failed. So we will close the parenthesis, and here we got the answer here. So Joseph is passed as per our logical arguments or logical scenario, and if we apply to all, so 2 student is failed, which were those students, Rodri and obviously Lisa. So that's how you can use or combine different function with the OR function. It comes very handy if you practice more and more with this, and you can also download our practice sheet from the link description below, and there are many worksheet in that workbook which you can practice on each and every day. So let me just delete this, and now for the bonus part, what we're gonna do is, this is the very basics, or you can say some of the advanced usage of OR function. But what about if you have something like dates here? Okay, so let's just input some dates here, and let me explain how you can use some other function, which is some advanced function like weekday function, with the help of OR function. And how we gonna do that? Let's say if you want to find weekends of particular dates, let me just put the date here, just the random date, and first let's say May 2021. Okay, and let me drag it down here. So Excel is just automatically, you know, drag it down all the dates from the 1st May to the 11th May 2021. So what we're gonna do is, we just want to find all the weekend dates, which is what are the weekend days, either it's a Saturday or Sunday, right? And with the help of weekday formula, so weekday function in Excel returns the number from 1, which is the Sunday, 2nd, which is the Monday, 3rd Tuesday, and so on to the 7, which is the Saturday. So with the help of weekday formula, weekday function, we will find which of these dates lies in the weekend. So we will use the OR function. Okay, so for example, if you have, you know, these dates in your calendar, and you want to find the holidays in your worksheet given by your boss, so you can do that simply with this formula. So how are we going to do that? First, we will simply put OR here, and we will put in the first logical argument weekday, and we will select this particular. If you learn something new in this video, please click the like button. If you have still questions, then you can use the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. This will be our first logical argument videos. We're going to cover if each and every function particular cell, and we have also covered on Sunday, either on Sunday, and we have also covered the if function. You should check it out. Logical argument, we will use the same. So see you in the next video. Until then, same, bye bye. And for this Saturday, which number we should use? 7. So first will be the Sunday, second will be the Monday, and so on. So last date, which is last day of week, which is 7, which is the Saturday, according to the Excel. So we will just close it down, parenthesis here, and here we go. Yes, this lies on either on Sunday or Saturday. So if we apply to all here, and it's give us true and true here and false here. So if you want to modify more this formula, like you just want to enter holiday in place of true, and working day in place of false, or nothing in place of false. So how are you gonna do that? With the help of if functions, obviously. So all this formula will be our logical test, right? And if logical test is true, then it will say or return holiday, and if false, nothing. It will be the blank. So yes, 1st May 2021 is a holiday, and if we apply to all, so here we got holiday, and these are the weekdays here which you need to be present in your office. no slacking. So that's how you can use OR function with the help of weekday to find the number of holiday in your particular dates. Hope you understand this bonus tip. And one more function which I just want to introduce in this video, the function is called XOR. XOR, which is quite identical to OR function, but it's very different. Some of my students, or you can say some of my blog readers on exceltutorial.net, just asked what are the difference between XOR and OR. So I will cover in this video, and I will just cut down this part of the video and put it as an extra on my channel. So what is XOR function? XOR returns true if an odd number of conditions are true. What does it mean? So in the OR function, we can just select any number of logical function. If either one of those logical arguments are true, then it will revert as a true. But in the XOR function, it will return true only if an odd number of conditions are true. I know it's very confusing while I'm saying this. Let me just put it down here. So let me just explain while doing it. So here, let me just put the random arguments here. Let me, if C3 is greater than equal to 70, which is false, I know, and greater than equal to 60, which is true, and we just select one more, greater than equal to 64. So as you can see, only one condition is true here. Which condition is true? The second one, because 69 is indeed greater than equal to 60, and all first and third is false. So let's see, let me show you what it returns. It returns true. Why? Because as I said, the XOR function returns true if an odd number of conditions are true. What are the odd numbers here? 1, 3, 5, right, 7, 9, and so on. So only one conditions are true here, so it will revert true. But let me show you one more thing. Let me just change one value as a true, one more value as a true. So let me just say C3 should be greater than or equal to 50, which is indeed true, and the second is also true, which is D3 69 is also greater than or equal to 60. So if I say, so it says false. Why it says false? Because two conditions are true and two conditions are not odd number. But if we apply OR function here, it will revert as a true. Hope you get this point. And one more, let me just add more conditions here. Like here, it should be greater than or equal to 120, which is true, right? And we got the three conditions right, first, second, and third, right? And if we enter here, it says true. But let me show you one thing. Let's do this way also. Let me make this E3 also true. Let me just put it like this way, 54, which is indeed true, and it will return as false. Why? Because how many number of conditions are true? 1, 2, 3, 4, which is not the odd number, then it will return as a false. I know this is very unusual function here, but many people just ask me what is the difference between the XOR and OR function. So that's the difference between the both function. OR function will revert true if any conditions are true, but XOR function returns true if an odd number of conditions are true. Hope you get this point here, the difference between OR and XOR function. Hope you have learned something from this video. If you have learned something from this video, please click the like button. If you have some questions in mind, then you can also ask in the comment box. And if you want to know more about various other functions and formulas and Excel tips, and you are interested in knowing more about the Excel, then you can also subscribe to this channel. So see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.